YouTube, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. I talk about things stationery, fountain pen related, and books. If you're stopping by for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by. This is my second take of this video, so things are a little disjointed. I did the first take and realized that my sound quality was a bit off on my mic. And additionally, and unfortunately, I also realized that I had too many takes and I was going to speed through the majority of what I was talking about so that you guys didn't get to see it. And so I just decided to go ahead and do another take for hopefully a much more clean performance on the second take. So without further ado, today's video is going to be December currently inked, and I'm going to also be picking what I'm going to be reading next in my TBR for the month of December, because I had a very good reading month last month in November, and my TBR is empty, but I started doing um, new books that I had not picked. And so I started to pick books from my bookshelf. So I want to kind of share with you what I have decided to try to take on in the month of December. So this is the remnants of what I had inked in the month of November. I've already, I've already cleaned through the pens, and that was what I was filming initially. It just took way entirely too long, and I felt like it was really boring content to have you guys watch me clean up my fountain pens and all the messes, bumbles, and spills. But the month of November, I had the Muddy series that I had ordered, and I basically put them into the initial, all of my Twisbys that I had, and then I fell one short. So this was the Muddy series. I had um, Muddy Bucket, which I actually really love that color. Robert Oster Muddy Water. I had Muddy Swamp, Muddy Crown, Muddy Dragon, Muddy Grass, which is like a green, dirty kind of green color, but really doesn't show green. It looks more blue on the screen probably, but it was actually a greenish color. Muddy Wine was my favorite, and then Muddy Sand, which I absolutely loved as well. I was going to kind of carry over the remnants of what I had in each of these pens, well, at least four of them, because I wanted to put them in the remaining Taiwanese pens that I have. But I decided against it halfway through the cleaning process just because I had so little in some of these pens that it just made better sense to go ahead and put in a different kind of ink altogether. So I'm going to shove these now drying out pens and their nibs out of the camera focus so that you don't see those. And let's talk about what I ended up currently inking for the month of December. And I've already inked them up, like I said. So for the month of December, I pulled out, and the only one that I kept inked from the previous was the Draco, because I have no idea with this one. It's a blind filling kind of mechanism, how much of the Muddy Wine that I have left. But it's such a beautiful kind of Christmas color pen that I decided to, and it writes so beautifully, that I just decided to keep this one Twisby inked. The remaining Taiwanese pens that I have are the Penlux Grandmaster in blue, and the Opus 88 I also have in clear demo. And that one I did keep in the Muddy Crown from the Robert Oster series, because that was one that I had probably the most amount of ink that I could see left in the pens. And then the last two Taiwanese pens is the Laban Cambridge 325. I put in, I do believe, a new ink in that one. And then I got the Fine Writing International. This is the Zeus pen. I also inked up. So excuse me, what I ended up inking up in the month of December with these inks, like I said, the Draco, I kept the Muddy Wine and Draco. And then the Fine Writing International, which I misstated when I did it. First of all, I did two things. One, I changed out the nib, because this one had on it a demonstrator 1.1 stub nib in it, and it just gushed a lot of aubergine. So I put in Diatramentis aubergine into this pen. And then for the Laban, um, oh, I think I did this. Okay. Muddy Oyster, I guess I kept, I put Crown in. So I have got Muddy Crown for this one for Opus 88. And then the wine, I put in on the last, I kept it in with the Draco that I already had. And then the last two I have in this Laban, I have in it Dominant Industry Earl Grey Tea. And for the Pinlux Grandmaster, I put in Robert Oster Fire and Ice. So I almost stayed true with Robert Oster inks. Here's what the ink samples look like. And I apologize if the lighting is not so that you can see it, but the aubergine just gushed in the 1.1. So I have since switched that out and it's in a fine nib. But the rest of them, you've already seen the muddy green and the muddy wine. So I should say muddy green, it's muddy grass. So that's the muddy grass. And you can't really even tell from looking at this in this light, but it is absolutely like a dirty, dark green color. And then the muddy wine, which is my favorite. There we go. There's the green, the grass, and then the wine. So those are those two colors. Those stayed. So that's what I have done on that one. And then Robert Oster Fire and Ice is in the Pinlux, and that's what that looks like. So those pins will now reside in this wonderful Galen leather 6-pin holder that I got a couple of years ago. And I will say I was a little bit bummed because I got it and I took it on a plane trip, and the pin that I picked leaked all over the place, unfortunately. But I'm going to just kind of stick these in no particular order. Good thing about Galen leather materials is that they last a long time and they last very well. And the elastic will accommodate even these more thicker, girthier pins. So those are the new 5. I've got 5. Yeah, I'm down to 5 fountain pens now for the month of December, which that was another thing that I had changed when I did my initial recording. I was saying that I think I have too many pens inked, and I like having a smaller number because you actually end up writing with your pens more. And I stepped away from that and started like inking up a whole bunch of pens, and I really don't like it because you don't get enough time to write with your pens when you're doing that for the month. But when you have a smaller number, you have a greater ability to do so. So that is what those inks look like for the month of December. Okay, next up on my desk, I want to talk about the books that I read in the month of November. It was a good reading month for me. I read quite a few books, starting off with Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Loved that book. I thought that was chef's kiss on the fantasy. And it made me want to read. I didn't realize until it was almost over that it was a duology. And one of the things that I'm trying to wrap up this year is I'm trying to wrap up any kind of series of books that I have open that I have started, any kind of duologies, trilogies, those kind of things. Station 11 I read. That was a very interesting sci-fi book. Good book. It makes you kind of think about what you would do if the world kind of was coming to an end in a post-apocalyptic, but it's not. It's more like it's not apocalyptic because it's not like a bomb detonates, but we do have a situation where there's a worldwide pandemic, kind of like COVID, but worse, that really takes out a good chunk of the human population. And it focuses on a group of people that are traveling together, doing various, I wouldn't say comedy acts, but they're like a theatrical group slash orchestra in this world, and how these people came together and what their lives were like. And so um, it makes you think about what you would do in that situation. It's pretty much a one point of view story, but it all kind of comes together. But there's different characters that have different impacts at the beginning of it that you kind of see how they all kind of came together in this storyline in this plot. And so actually I wouldn't say it's really, there's really one main protagonist. It's a female's perspective, but there's other secondary characters that you do get to hear their voices. So it's kind of, to me, mostly a one person point of view because she does most of the talking in it, but other sub characters also contribute to it. Lisa Jewell, None of This Is True, is my first. This was my first read of her book. I've never read this author before. This book was so good. Um, it really, really, really was just an excellent, excellent book. I really enjoyed it. So basically, you just don't know what's going on with this book or what the character is feeding you until the very end. It's so good. I'm not going to spoil it. I will just say I'm going to give you my rating and whether or not I would recommend it. And then I think you guys should go to Fable or Storygraph or Goodreads or whatever and check it out for yourself. That is a great thriller. Orbital. Orbital is kind of a trip. Orbital is about people who are living on the International Space Station, which we tend to, I think, forget about here on Earth, that we do have a group of people floating above us at all times, and what their perceptions are of what is happening on Earth, and also their own reflections about the relationships to people and the planet. And so it makes you reflect just kind of like where you stand on some of the things that are discussed. And it's kind of a philosophical book, but I think it will make you look inward and kind of ask yourself, what are your thoughts on it? What would your perspective be if you were in their shoes, kind of thing? But I did enjoy the book. And she ended up winning this year's Booker Award out of England. She's a British author. Double Take was my also first Lynette Eason book, and she was on Kindle Unlimited. And Kindle Unlimited has some really good books out right now that I think that if you're a Kindle subscriber, you shouldn't sleep on Kindle Unlimited because they really do have a lot of good books out there for the reading. And that's how I kind of came across some of the books that I did in this chat today. Um, Really good thriller, very suspenseful. I got to a point where I couldn't put the book down, and I just kind of like was staying up to try to get closer and closer to reading it, which is helping me get more books in because I couldn't stop kind of getting to the end because I just wanted to see how it was going to all fall out. Vengeful is book 2 of Vicious. And again, realizing that I'm at the end of 2024, I really want to wrap up kind of like these loose ends because I don't want to get too far down the path and not realize or remember what I was reading in the first book. So I really wanted to step up and read Vengeful next, which I did end up reading Vengeful next. But before I got to Vengeful, I decided to take on Tolstoy, and I read The Death of Ivan Ivanich, and I will say I will not probably read War and Peace because that's a tomb that could probably kill somebody if it ever fell on you. I mean, it is a serious doorstop. But his writing style, great prose, great writer. This subject matter was so depressing and so, oh God, I mean, sorrowful in a lot of ways that I was glad to get to the end of it. It was kind of a painful read. So I would say for me, if this is any kind of sample of what his writing style is and his subject matter is and how he kind of deals with, I would say, the sadder subjects of like war and peace, I think I will pass on Tolstoy. So I did get through Vengeful. I thought this was a great second book to Vicious. And I think that this book was one of the ones that things didn't end exactly how I thought, but some of it was predictable and some of it was not predictable. Like how it all kind of came together. I wouldn't say she bow wrapped it at all, but it came together in a very satisfying way. Um, Blood Over Bright Haven. I heard a lot about this book. It is a standalone fantasy book, which it's really actually hard to do, I guess, in the world of sci-fi. I think they push authors to try to write duologies or trilogies. Um, this book, this book was really, really good. but you could kind of see that some of it was very predictable, and you could see where it was going, but you still, even with some of the predictability, you still didn't know how it was going to exactly end, but the end was fitting for what was being discussed in this book. So I would say, again, this is a highly recommended book. I think I gave this a 4.5 stars in my rating system, even though I don't show the rating here. And then I read How to Love by Thich Nhat Hanh. This book has, I would say, it's easy to read, it's easy to digest, simply said things, but I think the execution of what is being said is harder to do because it will definitely make you think about what is love, how do you show love, how do you project that out, um, do you walk your talk? And so this one's more philosophical meditation, meditative kind of studies. I really did enjoy this book, but I thought it was, and it's a very small book. It's not a very big book, and it's a very quick read, which is why I could get through so many books this month. Um, I really did enjoy it, and it's book 3, and there's 9 other series that this. I think he's not a Tibetan monk. He's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. Wrote, and he has a center in the United States somewhere. I can't remember where, but he's got others in the series. Okay, now wrapping up. Again, I wanted to wrap up books in a series. So this was another duology. The first book was written by Isabel Jimenez, was Where the River Flows. Let me just see here. Let me double check here. Um, where is it at? That is book 2. Hold on just a second. I think it is Where the River Hides or Flows. I can't remember what it is, but nonetheless, the first book, what the river knows. This is the first book, was What the River Knows, and I really did enjoy. I really did enjoy the first book. It kind of made me want to read the second book. I will say, in this case, the second book didn't do the first book justice. Um, and I forget that this book was YA and not an adult book, so it kind of makes sense. But it's like things are just a little bit too convenient in the plot with this book. Um, the ending is satisfying, albeit very saccharine. I mean, it's just a little bit too sweetly, oh, and then the protagonist, she drove me nuts with the damsel in distress, but she wanted to be independent. So I kind of felt like Isabel Ibanez could have written her character to be a little bit more mature and not so airy fairy for my liking, but it's still a solid read, and it will wrap up the duology for you. But it was a little bit of a letdown for me. And then that brought me to um, the current book that I'm reading, which is Concerning the Futures of Soul, which is by Joy Williamson. And let me show you. I think I've got a better book flake for that one. Yes, I do. So this is the book flake for this book that I'm reading right now. Let me just bring that in here. There we go. Concerning the Futures of Soul. This book, I picked it up because I was looking for short stories, and I didn't really know 100% what to expect when I picked it up at my local bookstore. And it's actually interesting because it's like 99 stories from Ezra, who is the angel that carries the souls either to heaven or to hell. And in this case, I think most of them are going to hell. And so it's kind of like the plight of people's thoughts and his conversation with the devil. Now, that's not something that is a normal pick or read for me, but I did start that in the month, the very end. Actually, I started it on the 30th of November and thought I could plow through it, and I just haven't been able to do so. But I will be done with that book shortly, so I'm still waiting to see what the end of that's going to be. But that is November wrapped up, and I got through, like I said, I think I got through 10 books if I remember correctly. Let's see here. Station 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I got through 10 books. So those are the 10 books that I got through in the month of December. I mean, November. I keep saying December because I'm in December. So let's talk about what I'm going to read in the month of December. We already know that I am reading this one because I just talked about it. But I also have other books that I want to read, both physical and Kindle or Kindle Unlimited. And I think if I don't do it, I've got so many Kindle Unlimited books out. I was seriously thinking about reading all my Kindle Unlimited books. So, and I think if I don't do it this month, I might do it next month. So, December or January when I start, I've got all of these books that are sitting waiting for the month of January. And I'll stop right here. So I have all of these books that are free books for us to read. They're just sitting there. And I do need to finish up the Jade series by Fonda Lee. I didn't think I was going to like um, the first book in the series, and I ended up devouring it towards the end, and it actually got really, really good. And I really do want to read S.A. Crosby. But I know that this is kind of a short holiday month. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait. And then next year, I think I'm going to start trying to read some of my Kindle Unlimited books so that I can kind of get those because those are like it's like a library book. You got to check those in and out, and then once they're done, they're done. So without further ado, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick some of the books that I want to read, and one of them is The Wall. I've got to read Gonkel. I heard Gonkel was really cute. I want to read one book in the month of December that's like a holiday romance. So I need something like a rom com because I've been reading a lot about some pretty depressing subjects. So I've got these three that I'm going to probably get through in the month of December. And I think um, I don't want to start any other books that are in a series. So that's the only thing that I'm trying to not do. I still need to read Tuesday Mornings with Maury. I think I'm going to read him. And then I think I'll be traveling, and so I don't think I can pick up too much. But I do need to read Ali Hazelwood's Bride because I never read that. Space Between Words is part of a series, so I need to take that off of the shelf. I think I need to just go ahead and do Tuesday Morning with Maury, or Tuesdays with Maury. This is going to be, this one is a story about a man who has Lou Gehrig's disease or Parkinson's or some kind of debilitating terminal illness, and he just progressively gets worse. But he was a teacher before he retired, and one of his favorite students remembers him and goes back to visit him as an adult to discover that he's basically dying from this terminal disease. And he basically just has interviews with his teacher Maury, and it's supposed to be very insightful and very impacting. So I might get to this one, might not, but it's on tap for the month of December as well. Like I said, I do need to get rid of Bride, and I need to read this book called Read from the Bottom Up. That was another one of those picks that I don't really remember what that one was about. So I am going to go and look at my iPad here. Let's see if we can figure out what Read from the Bottom Up is, because otherwise I'm in series land. So I really don't want to get anything from. Okay. I'm not seeing it readily available. So I'm going to look this one up. Oh, it's Read Bottom Up. That's why. It's not Read from the Bottom Up, it's Read Bottom Up. Okay. So that one, I haven't marked as read, but I haven't read it. So let's see what this one is about. I have it on Goodreads. Oh, I have it on read on Goodreads versus currently reading. Nope. Want to read. There we go. Goodreads sometimes puts stuff in categories that I'm like, I don't know why. It's not sinking true to what this is. And it doesn't tell me what it's about either. Um, and so I'm going to say that I'm going to have to start this one all over again because it's got me in a place that I don't remember reading it. And I hope I didn't read it. So maybe not. With that being said, I am going to do a year and wrap up review. I'm in January of all the books, but I think right now these four books are strong contingents to being finished and read. That I've got five here. These four are what I'll try to get through because I'm already reading this one, and this one, like I said, is short. Um, this one's not very thick either. Tuesdays with Maury's not very thick, but Gonkel and the Wall is going to be interesting. It's about a woman who lives in the mountainside. I almost want to say like she's like in the Alps almost, and she basically discovers one day that she's isolated from the rest of the world with her cow and one other pet, like it's a cat or a dog, and it's just the three of them, and that's all that she has access to. And so, whatever bubble space that she's in, that's the bubble space that she's in, and it's how she kind of copes with being completely isolated from the rest of the world. That's all I can tell you about that one. Bride is a vampire story that I don't have the synopsis for that one either, but I'm not even sure if I'm going to get to Bride, so I'm going to actually pull this one off the table because this month is going to be crazy, crazy busy. So I will say I will get through these four books for sure. And if I can get to Bride, I'll update you later in the month of December, like especially if I can get through the concerning the future of souls. If I can get done with that one fairly quickly and Tuesdays with Maury and get to these two, I think I'll be doing good. I think it's just going to be really tight for me to get anything else done for this month, given what's going on. And if I can, I will try to get to Bride and then um, read Bottom Up, which is out of focus here. Let me just get this out. There we go. Read Bottom Up, a novel. I'll try to get that one in. So these are going to be the six books that I'll try to get through for the month of December. Stay tuned. I'll let you know. I will get better at talking about synopsises on books eventually. I'm still a little rusty on the booktubing part. It's harder than it seems when you start talking about what you read and plots and blah, blah, blah. But this is a new part of my channel and it's something that I'm actively doing. So I want to talk more about it and get better at it. All right. Thank you so much for staying to at the end. I really appreciate it. Happy holidays to everyone. If I don't talk to you until next year, or you don't check my channel out until January, have a wonderful, safe, happy holiday season and a good new year. And I will continue to say that until this month is over. But until next time, take care, stay safe. Bye.